dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back for our final segment on Liberty Nation Radio. I remain Mark Angelides, and we're continuing our conversation with Tim Doran. Thanks for sticking around to the end, Tim.
My pleasure, Mark.
We can't let you escape without getting your thoughts on Donald Trump's year of foreign diplomacy, because considering it's America First doctrine, I do understand that doesn't mean things begin and end at the county line. But Donald Trump's had quite a remarkable foreign policy year.
That would be the understatement of 2025 and 2026. I mean, he has stepped into the middle of no less than 8 conflicts and tamped down the temperature, tamped down the revolution. He has destroyed Iran's capacity to create nuclear weapons. He has ended the war between Iran and Israel. He has brought Iran to heel. And you can see how Iran has been weakened. Economic sanctions have gone into place. Hyperinflation has overtaken Iran. And he has, I really think that the bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities was a real game changer in the Middle East. It changes the balance of power. It isolates Iran. And it led to a peace deal between Israel and several of its Arab and Muslim neighbors. There's no overstating the importance of this in the most volatile region of the world. And then you get to South America and what's happened in Venezuela, and we don't know whether the vice president of Venezuela will continue to remain in power, probably will temporarily. But things are already changing dramatically in terms of Chinese influence in the Western Hemisphere. Trump has made it of utmost importance to reduce Chinese influence. Now, some people say it's America first, so what are you doing all these things overseas? But really, if you wanted to add one more word to America first, it would be American interests first. And that includes the drug runners from South America. That includes the sword of Damocles being the Iran nuclear threat. That includes a destabilization of the Middle East. So all of these things. And then there are some that, Trump just feels that he can broker peace. In the case of Ukraine and Russia, that was a war. And I think he's absolutely correct. If he had won in 2020, that war would not have broken out. But Russia just exploited the palpable weakness of Joe Biden to start that war of aggression unprovoked. And now Trump doesn't have any direct interest in that war. It's really Europe's problem more than America's. But you can see where he is envisioning his legacy as being the president of peace. And that is a title that he wants to run with.
But I wonder if the one that will elude him, the white whale, will be Russia-Ukraine. And yeah, as you rightly point out, that's a European affair. But American interests first. There are American interests involved here.
Well, it's not like he doesn't care if Russia wins this war. But you can only invest so much political capital before you move on to something else. So I would say that Trump's going to give it another maybe 3 to 6 months.
Right.
And if at that point Vladimir Putin continues to be intransigent, intractable, unwilling to move, or just playing games with threats and stuff like that, I think Trump's going to move on because he's got too many other worlds to conquer, so to speak. And, he's admitted to being incredibly frustrated because the one conflict he said he could end on day one is the one conflict he's not been able to end. I think, but if you think about it, it's very possible that by the time Trump leaves the White House, Venezuela will have fallen, Cuba will have fallen, Iran will have fallen without a single American death.
Well, you made
That's very possible.
I got to interrupt you. Did a fantastic article on a rethink of the domino theory on the pages of libertynation.com, and I do recommend everybody goes and checks that out. We'll put a link up here somewhere. And follow the finger edit, guys. And so, yeah, about how the domino theory has kind of gone global rather than by adjacent neighbors. It's something else. And if you could just give us a brief rundown of that, I guess, new initializing theory.
Well, the domino theory was first used during the Vietnam War as a justification for involvement in that war, with the idea that with North Korea communists, China communists, North Vietnam communists, that the Americans had to draw a line in the sand and say, we won't let you go any further. And of course, it was a disaster. But in fact, the domino theory turned out to be true because all of Southeast Asia went communist. Now you have the reverse after the fall of the Berlin Wall, where instead of embracing communism, Eastern Europe started discarding it. And you had Poland, they went first, then you had Czechoslovakia, Romania, Hungary. By the time 1990 was over, every communist government in Eastern Europe had been toppled. And these are regional things, but I would argue that the ideology of the times is what is at play here with Venezuela and Iran. Those protesters in Iran know perfectly well what Donald Trump did with Nicolas Maduro. They were emboldened by it. They were encouraged by it. So this prevailing belief and ideology about liberating people from tyrannical governments has a global reach. Cuba likely will fall because they're on their last legs. They have no economic capacity. And so I think the domino effect is in play here between Venezuela and Iran. And who knows, before this is over, it could spread even further. So I think the domino theory is relevant here, even though it's not specific to a particular region, because Venezuela and Iran are thousands of miles apart. But the impact, the psychological, emotional, spiritual impact of what happened in Venezuela clearly has animated the protesters in Iran.
Possibly the only useful thing globalism has given the world. Tim Donner, thanks ever so much for being with us.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
And that's all we have time for on this special edition of Liberty Nation Radio. Thank you for being here, and thanks to our special guest today, Tim Donner. You are appreciated. Please remember, Liberty Nation does not endorse campaigns, candidates, or legislation. This presentation is no endorsement.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.